Welcome Average Joe Nation from around the globe. Props to you for staying up to date and keeping in the know. Fantasy football, man, very soon you'll reign. The knowledge that these three guys have, man, it is insane. Fantasy football talk, hateful eight, they wear the crown. Hold it down, Pickle, Blackburn, and Trimboli, hold it down. Pulling up to LB Design Studio, we're getting loud. Season 2, headphones on, red light go, break it down.
Welcome back to the Hateful Eight Fantasy Football Podcast with your host, I'm Pickle, and with me as always, Blackburn.
What's up?
And out again this, obviously, as we said in the Thursday night game show, not game show, we don't have a game show, Thursday night show, Trimboli would be out this week, so he is still out, obviously. But this episode, we get to discuss the rest of the Week 3 games and get your lineup set for you. And as always, don't forget to follow the show's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. Now on to the Week 3 good, bad, and ugly.
Weekly starts and sits. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
All right, the good, the bad, and the ugly for Week 3. As we talked about last episode, the Jets at the Browns for the Thursday night game. So we have the 1 o'clock games, which are, is that you or was that Trimboli? Was that me? I think it was me, actually. I had the 1 o'clock games, I believe. Either way. All right, we'll go into I'll start with the good, the bad, and the ugly on mine. First games I've got is the New Orleans Saints versus the Atlanta Falcons. The good for me in this game is Ben Watson. It just, outside of obviously Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Drew Brees, he is an offensive player that's going to be used enough in the offense and is still a fan favorite for Drew Brees. So the opportunity is there, and Atlanta's, like we talked about, Atlanta's offense or defense is struggling for their key star players are going to be hurt. So we'll see how that goes for them. But ultimately, he's a good plug and play tight end this week if you're dealing with injuries and you need to stream. So, but the bad for this week for me is Austin Hooper, and it's only because the New Orleans Saints are really good against the tight end position. That might be the one spot that they're actually still doing well against defensively. But overall, Austin Hooper for me is a bad play this week. And then the ugly in this one is Ted Ginn. He has the potential upside to be a home run hitter, and it's like a 50-yard. It's like a Deshaun Jackson type thing. It's one catch, 50 yards, and a touchdown, and that's it. That's all you need.
That's all you need, though.
And it's set for the week. So
if you're in a pinch or bye weeks haven't started yet, but if you got injuries, concerns, or anyway, that's a good plug and play at your flex position.
Right. And to me, when I look at it, the like we talk about, the Atlanta defense is struggling injury-wise, so whatever strength and power that they've got left in that defense is going to be there to stop Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara. And who is going to be the one that's going to be able to, who's still got speed at his age to get behind the defense and catch one of those long passes? Ted Ginn.
Yeah,
so
I agree. I like that one.
I was looking at it and I was like, you know what? Who's a guy who would be a high upside guy? And Ted Ginn just like his name just kind of popped out there, and I was like, you know what? He's a guy that could potentially catch 2 passes and have 50 yards and a touchdown, and you're set for the week.
Right.
So, I mean, Deshaun Jackson has been pretty much doing the same thing every week. So,
he's the number 1 wide receiver right now. That's crazy to think about.
I mean, I told you week 1 that he was a high upside play just because Fitzpatrick's going to throw the deep ball, and as long as Fitzpatrick is the quarterback, I mean, to me, Deshaun Jackson is a weekly flex play for sure, potentially wide receiver 2 if you need to. So, but the next game I got is the Giants and the Houston Texans.
It's a weird game.
It is because both teams are struggling, both offensively and somewhat defensively. But the good in this game I've got is Evan Ingram, and I just think that's because looking at the defense for Houston, that's their one weak point is stopping the tight end position. And if anybody's a good tight end in this NFL league, it's going to be Evan Ingram's athletic-wise.
I do like Evan Ingram.
So, but on the flip side, the bad is going to be Eli Manning. And if you didn't watch the Dallas game, don't worry about it. Eli was on his back most of the night and or confused as to what to do with the ball. So
Man.
The offensive line, I told you, dude, it can only his left side was fine. It wasn't his blind side.
They need to get rid of Flowers. That right, he is super hot garbage. Like the hottest garbage you could think of. That's Eric Flowers.
I mean, you've been like when you go to a nice downtown, like old school building, like the rotating door, the big like old hotels. That's literally Eric Flowers' offensive blocking scheme right there. It's
Yep.
Let you go by.
Here.
Let you go by.
Come hit Eli.
Right. You know what? I don't need to do this. You just go right ahead. I'm not even going to give the effort. I mean,
it's terrible.
it's really bad, and they got their centers hurt. So
Yeah, he's out for the season.
I'm just telling you, any defense that's average or above average, you want to stream a defense until you see differently from the Giants' offense, I say go play.
I mean, Barkley had less than 20 yards rushing.
Right. I mean, I'm not saying that Barkley is going to be as a horrible play each week or OBJ is a concern. I'm telling you that the offensive line is a concern. So to me, that's a defensive stream play. So Houston is a great stream this week for that exact reason.
Sure.
If nothing else, they're going to have pressure. Dallas got pressure. They were confusing them, and they had I don't know how many sacks, how many they had I don't know how many turnovers, how many stopped third and outs. It was a bad game for them. So, and then the ugly in this game, Lamar Miller, and only because volume alone.
Yeah.
I just think that this game is going to get out of hand potentially early. And if Hopkins and these guys are putting points on the board,
Fuller.
right? These guys eventually they're going to have to hand the ball off to Lamar Miller,
Yeah.
and if they get out early, they could potentially try to slow down the game and just get out with a win. And Lamar Miller, volume wise, is going to be there. So there's still no Foreman, so I'm all on board with a flex play or a running back 2 for Lamar Miller this week. So. And then the Oakland-Miami game. Who would have ever thought that the Miami Dolphins would be 2-0 this season?
Not me.
Not me. No, not at all. But props to them and their fan base. They really thought that they had something there, and at this moment they do. So, but the good for this one I've got is Kenny Stills, and that's just because he is the main wide receiver there in that Miami offense, and they seem to be pushing the ball down the field. So why not push it to a guy that Tannehill likes to throw the ball to, and no Jarvis Landry anymore in that offense? So he seems to be the guy that's kind of picked up the volume for that offense.
Yeah.
And now the bad in this one is the Miami running backs, and it's because Oakland's defense is actually really good against the run stop. That's the one thing that they're actually good for defensively at this point. So I'm not saying do not play Kenyon Drake, but I'm telling you, pace yourself. Don't be frustrated if he, in a PPR standing scoring, he's getting these 6 or 7 points this week. And it's just because the defense is a good defense against the run. I have a feeling that Miami's going to put a lot of points on the board from the passing game. So Frank Gore, Kenyon Drake may not be a worthy play this week, but you drafted Kenyon Drake where you drafted him, more than likely you're probably playing him. So I'm just telling you to be patient and know that this is not a game that's going to be favorable in his favor. So, and then the ugly in this game, beast mode, and I would just point it out. So I went on Stat Route, looked it up. Last year against this defensive coordinator specifically for the Miami Dolphins was the game that he had 57 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. Nothing's changed. To me, the defense has gotten worse for Miami. So I'm just telling you, there's no Sue. So
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, he's a perfect play this week, high upside volume, and I have a feeling this offense is going to have to start scoring the ball through the run game eventually.
Sure.
So why not take the guy who's more often than not going to be the guy that catches the ball or gets the ball, I guess, out of the backfield. And I just think beast mode volume-wise is going to be enough to be a worthy play this week as a running back 2. Not just a flex, but a running back 2 this week. So, now, to me, this is going to be the interesting game. Kansas City versus San Francisco. It's in Kansas City, so it's a home game for Patrick Mahomes. And the good in this game, I put Garcon or Pettis, depending on your league, if you've got the availability to play either one of them. And it's because Kansas City's secondary is not really good against the pass. So if you're looking at a high upside guy that you want to play in the flex, Garcon or Pettis in a PPR format is going to be worthy of a play, in my opinion. And Garcon is going to be more for PPR purposes just because of the receptions, where I think Pettis is going to be the guy who's going to catch a lot of more, I don't want to call it like chain moving passes. So he's going to be the guy that's going to be getting the ball down the field for him, moving them down the field. And eventually he's going to be the guy that, because I'm not sure about Marquise Goodwin still. So to me, these guys are perfect plays this week. And the bad, I know he had a good game last week and everybody's all about Matt Breida right now, but I would pump the brakes a little bit on this because they're playing against the Kansas City Chiefs defense, and they are really good against the run. And I think that I just think the 49ers are going to have to pass the ball this week to win. I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball with Matt Breida or Alfred Morris to win this game. I think that Pat Mahomes is going to be lighting up the scoreboard again, and I just think that that's going to make the game out of reach for the run game. I don't think... Now, I'm not saying that Matt Breida is not going to catch any passes out of the backfield because they're going to have to use the running backs in some fashion, but ultimately, I don't think this is going to be a game that you're going to be happy to play him. Now, obviously, if he's the best running back you got as your RB2 or flex...
You got to. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you have to. But it
should have drafted better.
Or avoided injuries and had a mind-reading abilities.
Well, a lot of people probably do have them, though, if they had drafted Jerick McKinnon high like that.
Right. So, I mean, I'm just telling you, I'm not saying cut him and go pick up somebody else. I'm just telling you, please don't expect high scoring totals from him this week just because the Kansas City defense is really good against the run. So, now, in the ugly, I went to stat route again, and this is the only reason why I put him in here. Sammy Watkins is the ugly for this week, and he was my ugly last week, did very well. 2017 against the same defensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, which they pretty much have the same defense overall. He had 20.3 fantasy points. That was that Thursday night game with the Rams where he was lights out, probably best game of his career. I'm not saying he's going to get 20 fantasy points. I'm just telling you that I'm looking at him to have somewhere between 12 to 13 fantasy points this week. And in a flex spot, in a PPR, that's not a bad place to be.
No, that's good.
So I'm not saying to play him every week. I think Sammy Watkins, from what I'm watching and how he's being used in the offense, obviously Pat Mahomes is all about Tyreek Hill. However, I'm just saying in matchups that are favorable for a wide receiver 2 in that offense, Sammy Watkins can be played in a flex play on a great matchup week and be comfortable with it. So, and then my final game is the Tennessee Titans and the Jacksonville or Saxonville Jaguars.
It's going to be a massacre.
I know.
It's going to be ugly.
I really had to go out and find. I had to really go and search high and low for some positive things for the Tennessee Titans, and I couldn't find it.
There's not.
I really couldn't.
Mariota's still not 100%. Derrick Henry's trash. Their wide receivers are trash. Delaney Walker's out. I mean, it's terrible.
I mean, Taylor Lewan may or may not be playing. He's supposedly okay, but we'll see how it comes to game day against a really good defensive front. I mean, they're literally top 3 or 4 in every category: run stopping, quarterback against the quarterback, against the wide receivers.
It's nasty. Their defense is nasty.
So for this game, the good Austin Seferian-Jenkins for me. He's another tight end stream guy. Tennessee is horrible against the tight end. Awful. So he is a great stream play this week for sure. The bad in this game is the Titans quarterback and wide receiver. I could have put their running back. I could have put the whole offense, but I didn't want to be those guys. So I just nicely put the Titans quarterback, whichever that may be.
All their offense except for Deion Lewis and a PPR because they're going to have to score they're going to have to throw to win.
Right. They're going to have to throw the ball to win. They're not going to be able to muscle their way down the field against this defense. So, and whether it's Mariota or Gabbert, I know they've been both practicing this week and sharing snaps or whatever with the first team, but still, like I said, Jacksonville's number 1 against quarterbacks, number 1 against wide receivers. So I'm just telling you right now, whatever Titans wide receiver or quarterback you have, I would not play them. I know that if that's your best option to play, and you've got guys who are backups that aren't even going to see a snap.
Go pick up Dilly Disley off the waiver wire. He's the number 1 tight end right now.
Go pick up. There's got to be a quarterback on the waivers in your league. There's 32 NFL teams. Most leagues are 10 to 12 teams. That tells me unless everybody's got 2 quarterbacks, even if so, the max of the teams are going to be somewhere around 24 quarterbacks off the board. That still leaves several quarterbacks, even if they're garbage, are better than what you're going to get out of the Tennessee quarterback.
Go pick up a Sam Darnold. Rock him for Thursday night.
Right. I'm just telling you. It is what it is. I don't know, man. I'm just telling you, I would steer clear of the Titans quarterback, or wide receivers. And then the ugly in this one, and it's not because I don't think he's good. I just think that I think Blake Bortles is still trying to figure out who his true wide receiver 1 is, whether that's Moncrief or...
I think we found out last week who it is.
Keelan Cole, to me, stands out. So, volume, upside, and then Blake Bortles seems to be favoring him more and more every week. I just think that he's the guy that to have in this passing game. I'm not saying that don't have Dante Moncrief. I'm just telling you, Keelan Cole seems to be the guy who has slid in to replace the Allen Robinson and Allen Hurns.
And he's a monster. I like him.
I thought it was pretty funny the touchdown catch they had that he ended up running up the tunnel.
All the way up the tunnel.
Right.
Yeah, that was funny.
So, but ultimately, I think he's a great play this week for sure. So those are my guys for the good, the bad, and the ugly. So just make sure you keep those handy for yourself when you're setting your lineups this week. So who are you? Did you have the no, never mind. Trimboli's got those, don't he?
I think Trimboli's is the 4. It don't matter.
Okay, you go ahead. What you got?
I got Bills at Vikings. We talked about this in the last show. The good for me is Minnesota's defense and special teams.
Yeah.
I mean, Bills are hot garbage. McCoy's got hurt ribs. He's still going to try to play through it. And they're going to make rookie, Josh Allen try to do everything. Minnesota's going to pin their ears back and just go at them.
Right. And you got Xavier Rhodes sitting back there, so it's not hard.
You got Harrison Smith and Xavier Rhodes waiting to get some hot turnovers. Mm-hmm. But it's ugly. I like Minnesota's defense a lot in this one. My bad for this week, LaShawn McCoy. I know a lot of people drafted him, maybe late second, early third round, but he's hurt. He's going up against the Vikings, who are 5th against running backs, so top 5. I just don't think there's going to be any match because they're going to have to throw to win. That Minnesota's offense is going to kill Buffalo's defense.
Oh yeah.
So LaShawn McCoy, unless he's catching, he's going to be a non-factor in this game.
And let's be honest, how much is he really going to want to put his body out there on the line against this defense when he's already dealing with a rib injury?
When they're up 28-0 at halftime.
Like I said, you might pull himself out of this game.
I don't know. Could pull a Vontae Davis. The ugly for me this game is tight end Kyle Rudolph. He finally came around this last week and had a decent game. He's a big target. He's averaging 11 points a game this year, and Bills are ranked 26th against tight ends, so bottom half of the league.
Yeah, good game for him this week for sure.
My next game, Bengals at Panthers. My good, obviously running back Giovanni Bernard. Mixon's out. He's going to be out for a couple weeks. He can run and catch, so if you're in PPR format, that favors him even more. I think this game could be a possible shootout because both defenses are just okay.
Well, I was going to say Thomas Davis is coming back this game, I believe. So that at least helps their linebacker core with Luke Kuechly. But overall, I think that the Bengals are going to do what they want to do with A.J. Green and Giovanni Bernard.
After watching A.J. Green last week, 3 catches for 3 touchdowns in the first quarter, I'm sure the Panthers have their eye on that.
Oh, yeah.
So, and Carolina's 20th against running back, so they're bottom half.
Yeah.
My bad for this week, Tyler Eifert. He's only averaging 6 points per game.
Yeah.
And he's being outperformed by third-string tight end C.J. Uzomah. Yeah, Croft's not even doing that well. Carolina's 20th against tight ends. They're just looking at A.J. The wide receiver group's really stepped up there. And Mixon and now it's going to be Bernard are doing all the work.
Boyd even had a great game last week.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, they're all doing good. My ugly is Devin Funchess. Outside of CMC, he's the most targeted player on the team.
Yeah.
No Greg Olsen, and Cincinnati's 22nd against tight ends. So it's strictly volume for Funchess.
Right, and DJ Moore had a good game last week.
He did.
He actually started to kind of get into his own, but ultimately I agree with you. I think volume, and we saw last year when Olsen went down with that injury, Devin Funchess stepped up in the volume, and CMC's volume went up, and that's exactly what you saw last week with no Olsen. Funchess' volume went up a little bit. CMC's volume went way up. So. Yep. I agree with you. And I was going to say about the Tyler Eifert thing kind of goes hand in hand with Thomas Davis coming back. I think him and Kuechly kind of patrolling that middle is not a good spot for a guy who's got multiple injuries like Tyler Eifert.
I don't know. Maybe the Eifert we seen 2 years ago is there's none of that.
No, we talked about that he's probably going to be a touchdown upside guy. And he's just not scoring the touchdowns, so he's not really a worthy play at the moment.
6 points a game.
Now he's staying healthy, however, he's not scoring.
Right.
So,
next game, Broncos at Ravens. My good for this one is Emmanuel Sanders. I call him the Thielen of the West.
There you go.
Demaryius Thomas is slated as the number 1 wide receiver, but Case Keenum is favoring Emmanuel Sanders.
Right.
He's averaging 23 points per game. And Baltimore's 11th against wide receivers, but I would start Emmanuel Sanders this week.
Right, and I believe Jimmy Smith is still out, so their best corner is probably going to be on Demaryius Thomas.
Yeah. My bad for this week is running back Royce Freeman. Their coach said they're going to ride the hot hand, And right now, that seems to be Phillip Lindsay,
Yeah.
especially in PPR formats, catching. And not to mention, Baltimore is ranked number 1 against the running back. So, my ugly, Joe Flacco. He's averaging 23 points a game. He's attempted 89 passes the first 2 weeks. That's a lot for Joe Flacco.
Oh, yeah.
And Denver is no longer known as the no-fly zone. They're ranked 24th against quarterbacks.
No. Once you remove Talib, surprisingly enough, he was shutting down that field, even though it was quiet, and you really didn't think about it like that.
Well, he was taking the number 1
Right.
receiver away.
That's why everyone was like, oh, no big deal. Talib's leaving, no big deal. I mean, we got Bradley Roby, which, don't get me wrong, Bradley Roby's a great corner. However, you did not realize how much work Talib was doing on that side of the field because it was a non-factor every down.
Right.
So,
my next game is Packers at Redskins. My good for this one, running back Chris Thompson.
oh, yeah.
He's the leading receiver on the team. Listen to this. 19 catches. Okay. The wide receivers, Richardson, 8. Crowder and Dotson each have 5. That's crazy to me.
Check down city,
Yep.
Alex Smith.
Yep, Smith security blanket. That's why I got checked down. He's averaging 24 points per game. Chris Thompson is. So
For not being healthy till November, he's not looking too shabby at this point.
yeah,
September.
for not starting the league or for not starting the year 100%, he's doing pretty well.
Right. I'd like to see what he looks like in November when he's actually healthy 100% supposedly.
My bad for this week. We just talked about it. All the Redskins wide receivers: Richardson, Crowder, Dotson. Thompson has more catches than all of them, and it just. I don't know if it's the offensive line's not bad because Adrian's done well and Chris Thompson's done well, but it's just he's not throwing downfield.
Right. I just don't think he's got that. I think what it comes down to for Alex Smith is what we saw, and everyone's like, oh, well, he was throwing the deep ball all last year in Kansas City.
When you got Tyreek Hill, that's a different animal.
But I also think he was comfortable in that offense.
True.
I think this is a new offense, whether people want to admit that or not. Alex Smith, although he is smart and he is a good at managing the game quarterback, anytime you go into a new offense as a quarterback specifically, it does take you a little bit of time,
Sure.
and you have to get chemistry with the wide receivers. You have to get chemistry with the other running backs and the tight ends. You have to get the guys that are going to be catching the pass because they've spent the last how many years catching a pass from Kirk Cousins. You've been throwing the ball to Tyreek Hill, Kareem Hunt, Spencer Ware. I mean,
Right.
Travis Kelce. Totally different offense style.
Yep.
Different scheme. So, but if nothing else, come end of Sunday, Alex Smith is check down city. I mean, literally, that's where he stays, on that road.
The top 2 guys in that offense is Chris Thompson and Jordan Reed. He loves Jordan Reed too.
Yeah. So
My ugly for this game is tight end Jimmy Graham. He's averaging 9 points per game. It's not terrible, but it's a mismatch for the Redskins linebackers and safeties. Washington's 23rd against tight ends. So.
right, and I think Aaron Rodgers being injured has found Jimmy Graham. Last week, you saw he was looking for Jimmy Graham very often. A lot of short,
Security blanket.
a lot of quick releases because I mean Aaron Rodgers is going to have to get rid of the ball quick. He can't not get hit.
Yeah, we just talked about it off show.
Yeah.
If he gets hit, it's over.
Right. I mean, we talked about anything simple. A lineman rolls into it, a running back's in pass protection, and he gets bull rushed and pushed back into him. I mean, it takes nothing for that need to be completely done.
Yep. And then it's the Deshaun Kaiser show.
And you saw what that looked like in that short stint.
Which Jimmy Graham, Devontae Adams, and everybody else on the Packers offense stock goes down the drain.
Right. I mean, Devontae Adams may be like the only guy I think I can honestly say, only because I saw what he did with Hundley last year. But I think that Kaiser is way farther step back wise than Hundley is. And Hundley wasn't the greatest either, so.
I don't know. Better hope Rodgers stays healthy.
Yeah.
My last game is Colts at Eagles. My good for this game is wide receiver Nelson Aguilar.
Ooh.
Right now, he's the number 1 receiver. Jeffrey is attempting to practice or whatever, but he's probably not going to be ready. Mike Wallace is on IR. He's got 16 receptions this year on 22 targets in the first 2 weeks, so he's being targeted a lot.
Yeah.
Wentz is coming back this week, which will help.
Right.
And Aguilar is averaging 18 points per game this year, PPR.
We talked about it in that first week prior to the week 1 game, saying, hey, if Nelson Aguilar is on your waivers, pick him up because he is going to be the number 1 wide receiver till Alshon Jeffrey comes back. And I'm telling you, at this point, if he continues to blow up every week like he has been, Alshon Jeffrey may be the wide receiver 2 come time he starts.
It's possible because he hasn't played yet, so it's going to take him time to get acclimated too.
Right.
Back into everything. My bad for this week, and I hate to put him here because he's my guy, Marlon Mack.
Yeah.
First two games, I mean, he didn't play the first game.
Right.
But the second game last week against Washington, he only had 4.6 points.
Well, I looked at the snaps on that because I thought you might mention him as your the guy in this context. I looked, him and Jordan Wilkins literally split the same amount of snaps, same amount of rush attempts. It's just Jordan Wilkins did more with that volume. Mm-hmm. So I think it's going to...
Hines got the touchdown.
Who did nothing all game and gets the touchdown. Welcome to fantasy football. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I have it here. He's been outplayed by Wilkins and Hines, to be honest. I mean, even as one game.
Right.
But, I don't know. Wilkins is averaging 8.4 points, so he's doubling up Mac.
Right. My thing is to see now that Mac is supposedly healthy, or he's on the uptick to being healthy, how they use him. If they continue to trend him upward to being used more than Wilkins, then that's a good sign. Now, if they're using him as the same, or if any volume starts falling back to close to nothing, and Wilkins is still getting the same amount of volume, that's a sign of concern.
Right. Well, Eagles are 6th against running backs, too, so that's a bad matchup.
Yeah.
My ugly this game is tight end Eric Ebron. He's not even listed as the starter. Jack Doyle's listed as the starter, but Ebron's playing way better. He's got 7 catches on 9 targets and 2 touchdowns. That's who they're looking for in the red zone. Every time they get down in the red zone, it's Eric Ebron.
Yeah.
He's averaging 13 points per game this year in the first 2 games, and Philly's in the bottom half, 16 against tight ends. So I like Ebron in this one.
Most definitely. And until something changes, Ebron to me is the tight end to have there in Indianapolis.
Yeah, he's outplaying Doyle tremendously.
So I don't know if the better coverage for the tight end position is being taken by Doyle elsewhere and Ebron's just able to kind of free roam or what.
I just think Ebron's more athletic, and
I think he's a mismatch, whether it's against the linebackers or against the corner safeties. So, all right. So for Chimboli's games, we'll split them up. I'll take the first 2 games, and you can take the last 3 games then. Okay. But the Chargers and the Rams, which this is going to be an interesting game because the Chargers have a really good offense and the Rams have a very good defense. So
the Battle of L.A.
It is the Battle of L.A. Now, the good in this one, he's got Goff. He says Chargers have allowed an average of 20.7 fantasy points to the quarterback position so far this year. So he's a great stream play this year, or this week specifically. The bad for him is the Williams brothers, not Mario and Luigi brothers, but Mike Williams and Tyrell Williams. Rams are number 1 defense against the wide receivers, and they've held them to 10 points a game for wide receiver purposes. So this is where I come into my question mark of playing Keenan Allen. I know we always say you play your studs, but this is one of those moments that you're like, I can see the train entering the station and falling off the tracks, and Keelan Allen gets you like 9 fantasy points. So that's fantasy football, unfortunately. But in the ugly in this one, he's got Austin Eckler. Says his role in this offense continues to increase every week, and if he wasn't playing the Rams, he would be a great play. Per Trimboli saying this, and he says through 2 weeks he has 36.4 fantasy points, which is more than Dalvin Cook and Jordan Howard, who both have 25 points each.
I mean, even with Gordon going off, scoring 3 touchdowns, Eckler's still getting the ball, especially in PPR formats.
Right, and that's why I told you when I was saying, I said you got a really good offense in the Chargers against the Rams, who's got a really good defense, and this is going to be a true test. The strengths of the teams are going to be playing against each other.
Yeah,
and I'm excited to see this game.
I think both teams are going to be passing a lot.
So. I think so. But ultimately, I think this is going to be a good game to watch, strength 1v1 type setup. Now, the other game that I'm going to do is Chicago Bears versus the Arizona Cardinals. So the good in this game, Trey Burton. Now you saw him take that shovel pass in the Monday night game. So they are still trying to find ways to get him in the offense. And it was pretty cool to see the side-by-side, literally the same play call with Travis Kelce. So I truly think that he is going to be the guy that they're going to continue to move forward with as Travis Kelce role, if you want to call it that. But ultimately, Arizona's defense has been pretty poor against the tight end, would be a nice way to put it. But their defense has been poor in general. But now the bad in this one, I hate to say this, but he hits this on the nail on the head on this one.
It's true.
Any offensive player for Arizona not named David Johnson or Larry Fitzgerald, he says the Arizona offense is terrible, and Chicago's defense has been no joke since Mac joining the team.
They're top 5, and that's crazy.
one player changed that.
Well, there was a stat that I seen on Twitter, and I think I posted it on Facebook.
Yeah.
It had Khalil Mack, and it had all his defensive stats. They were all better in every statistical category than what the Oakland Raiders' whole defense is as a whole.
I mean, they missed out on that one. I understand they couldn't come to terms, but whatever. Now, I will tell you, I'm not saying to sit David Johnson nor Larry Fitzgerald, but I'm telling you to brace yourself because I have a feeling this defense is no joke, like Trimboli said, and you may end up disappointed playing either one of them this week.
This might be the game where Sam Bradford gets hurt.
We figured 3 to 4 games over under is what we were talking about before the season started, and this is the 3rd game mark. So, and then the ugly in this one, he's got Tariq Cohen. Now, through 2 weeks, Arizona's ranked dead last against the running back position and has allowed a total of 5 touchdowns against the running backs. And I know they're trying to get Tariq Cohen going. I mean, I know that sounds funny and rhyming, but
I don't like any of the Bears offensive guys except for Howard, only because of volume.
Right.
And Allen Robinson.
Right. I mean, I like Trey Burton, but I'm just saying, like, those are the 3 guys. I know we talked about Tariq Cohen potentially falling into that maybe Tyreek Hill type style, but they really have not used him like that.
Well, I think it's Trubisky. He doesn't have the accuracy. I mean, we've seen this on this last game they played. He was overthrowing open receivers left and right.
Right. I mean, to me, and I think that the Witten and these guys made it very clear on the Monday night broadcast saying that it doesn't matter how good of plays are called by Nagy because Nagy's trying to be creative, trying to get Trubisky comfortable, trying to get him going. It ultimately comes down to Trubisky. And if he's not on the mark, if he's overthrowing, underthrowing, or he's making a bad read, it falls on the whole offense. And I think Tariq Cohen is the guy who is kind of suffering through the growing pains of Trubisky figuring out how to run this Matt Nagy offense. Jordan Howard, like you said, volume. Allen Robinson is volume. Trey Burton is volume. And just because he's the only guy that seems to know this offense right out the gate. So I think it plays well to his hand. But anyways, all right, so what's the games that you've got for this one?
The first game that I got is Dallas at Seattle. And the good for this one is Dilly Disley. I don't know. This kid's growing on me. 2 weeks, he's got a touchdown in both weeks that we've played. Now, granted, the last one this past week was a garbage touchdown with like a minute left in the game or whatever.
Right.
But still, I mean, he's being targeted with no Doug Baldwin in the game. He's being targeted the most out of everybody.
Yeah. He's stepping up as the best tight end in that offense.
Yeah.
Or receiving threat for
and
that
I like
matter.
Vanette, but, I mean, he's outdoing Vanette.
He's outdoing some of the receivers.
Yeah.
So
the bad for this one, Carson and Penny for Seattle. Neither has had much success this year, and it's hard to expect anything positive against that Cowboys defense you talked about, especially the run.
Right.
I mean, it's going. I don't know. I don't like neither one of these running backs.
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I picked up Dallas's defense post seeing what they did against Eli in that horrible offensive line. We also know that Seattle is a horrible line. So to me, seeing this, I picked up Dallas' defense as a stream play this week only because it's a potential and you got Randy Gregory's potentially coming back. Xavier Woods is coming back. They're going to be at full strength with this defensive line, and they were already getting pressure with the guys that they were rotating in and out. And I just think that this is a bad day for the Seattle offense again. Russell Wilson's a for me as well.
Yeah, that offensive line is horrible.
And I know
it's almost worse than Buffalo.
Well, right, and we talked about this that Russell Wilson's going to find a way to be a valuable quarterback. I'm starting to question that at this point.
I think he will. I just think he needs more weapon when he gets Doug Baldwin back and some playmakers. But right now, I mean, it's not looking promising.
No.
The ugly for this game, and he's got it quotations real ugly, is Tavon Austin. Last week he had 2 catches for 79 yards and had 1 carry for 15 yards. Seattle's defense, they're not the Legion of Boom anymore. Nobody's really scared of them. And on Monday night they had Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright. They had all their linebackers were out.
Right, and there's no guarantee that they're playing this week either. And even if they do come back and play, they're not going to be 100%.
Right. And with that, Dallas is still looking for that playmaker on offense, and they might have found it in Tavon. His receiving ability and potential usage out of the backfield, that is an interesting guy. He can catch, he can run, he could be their Tyreek Hill.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I was surprised. As a Dallas fan, I was surprised to see right out the gate that pass down the sideline. Now, Dak put it could have made a better throw, but it wasn't a bad throw. But ultimately, Tavon Austin, I mean, he beat Jackrabbit. It wasn't like he beat like their third or fourth best corner. He beat their best corner.
Yeah.
And he just outran him.
Nobody's questioning his ability. I mean, he's always been fast. It's just
the usage. What can you use him for?
Yeah, when he was at the Rams with Jeff Fisher, that whole offense was pretty much like
awful.
Yeah, that was the bad Todd Gurley.
That was the JV varsity offense, whatever. But yeah, I agree with you. I think this will be an interesting one. But yeah, Tavon Austin. I agree with him. Real ugly because he literally did the Deshaun Jackson thing. Yeah. 2 catches, 79 yards, and a touchdown.
That's all you needed, though.
No, that's all you needed for sure. So
the Sunday night game, the Patriots at the Lions.
Ooh.
The good for this one, Kenny Galladay.
Yeah.
He's got 4 more targets, 5 more receptions, and 95 more yards than the guy we hyped up, Marvin Jones.
Right. I mean, I talked about Kenny Galladay in the offseason. I said that there was a chance, if given the opportunity, he could potentially emerge as a top their number 2 wide receiver in that offense, if given the chance.
And Tate in PPR format, he's averaging 18 points a game.
Tate is doing what he normally does.
Always does, yeah.
So
and nothing against Marvin Jones. He's dropped, or the passes were either overthrown or he dropped 3 touchdowns.
Right.
Deep 3 touchdown passes.
Right.
So the volume's there for him too. It's just the Lions are always going to be playing from behind. So they're going to keep throwing. So either 3 of these wide receivers are good to have.
Right. I mean, the defense there in Detroit is banged up already. Darius Slay's dealing with a concussion, so.
But I like Galladay. He stepped it up last week a lot.
He's just a big physical wide receiver, honestly. So I like him in this game. I just think it's interesting. You got Belichick versus Matt Patricia. So you got former coaches playing against common coaches playing against each other. So
well, yeah, Belichick they know each other.
Oh,
so
yeah.
That'll be an interesting chess match.
I don't think he's ever played as defensive guys. He's always played like the offensive guys, like Bill O'Brien. Who's the
Josh
McDaniels.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's ever played a former defensive coordinator.
Well, they're both defensive. We'll see. This will be a good. It's not going to be a good game. It'll be a chess match between them, but ultimately,
by the third quarter,
the Patriots' offense will be way better than the Lions' offense. So.
Right, most definitely.
Bad for this game is Josh Gordon. Now, we're not saying he's not talented, but you can't really expect huge things from him.
Week 1.
3 days into being a Patriot.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Or, a half a week being into a Patriot.
It's a complicated offense.
Right. So he's going to be adjusting. He's going to be trying to learn the playbook. Tom Brady will get him along, and if he's there, he'll show up, but it's not going to be this week.
No.
And the ugly for this one is Kerryon Johnson.
Yeah.
His carries and targets increase little by little, week to week, but the New England defense is averaging like 18 points for running backs. So, I mean, that's good, but they split running backs too. I don't know.
That's the thing. I think, like what he was saying is, if he's the one if it's continuing to trend the way that they're showing, and he's the main ball carrier, he has the potential to get a good amount of points. However, we're still waiting to see when they finally hand over the official torch to Kerryon Johnson to be the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, theoretically still being used in that passing game. It's pretty much Kerryon Johnson and I just drew a blank on his name. The Garrett Blunt, trying to figure out who's going to be their number 1 guy.
Well, Garrett Blunt's hurt, isn't he?
Right. So I'm just saying I think that's why he's seeing a little bit more.
Yep.
So we'll see.
Monday night game.
Ooh, this is going to be a good one.
I'm excited about this game, honestly.
Fitzmagic on Monday night.
Yep, it's Pittsburgh at Tampa Bay. Big Ben, if this would have been at Pittsburgh, it would have been a little bit more intriguing to me.
Yes.
But right now, the good is Deshaun Jackson. He's got 3 touchdowns through the first 2 weeks of the season, and that's going to continue with Fitzmagic at the helm.
Oh, yeah.
Pittsburgh's defense is horrible. They're the second worst passing defense.
Oh, yeah. It's not good for them, and like we talked about, Fitzmagic loves to throw the deep ball. He has no problem letting it rip and just letting it fly out there, and Deshaun Jackson's loving it.
Last year when we did our bold predictions, and I had Jameis Winston as my guy because of all the weapons that he has, Fitzmagic is using all those weapons. Deshaun Jackson, O.J. Howard's had big touchdowns. Mike Evans is balling out. I mean, it's great to see.
I mean, even Peyton Barber is somewhat showing up from time to time.
He's serviceable, and that's all they need because Fitzmagic's throwing 40 times a game.
As long as you can keep him protected. That offensive line's actually doing a lot better than what I expected them to be. What we saw in preseason, I should say. But
so, I mean, Jameis is off, suspension next week, or after next week. But right now, I would not take Fitzmagic out.
No.
That offense is rolling.
No, as Vance Joseph says, you ride the hot hand.
True story. The bad for this one is Barber.
Yeah.
Peyton Barber. 35 carries for 91 yards, 1 reception for 7 yards, and 0 touchdowns through the first 2 weeks. Now, he's serviceable. He can get, your short yardage or whatever, but Fitzmagic is throwing the ball all over the place, and that's what this offense is doing.
Right. When we say serviceable, it's like if you're in an extreme pinch and you need somebody to put in your flex and he's your best option, you set it and you forget it. But ultimately, this is a bad matchup for him, and we all know that Fitzmagic's just going to let it ride. Mm-hmm. He's going to let it fly, and he's going to throw it every chance he gets.
And Pittsburgh's going to have no choice but to throw to stay in it.
Yes.
The ugly for this one is Jesse James.
Yeah.
Now, he had a monster game last week with that 138 yards and a touchdown. Big Ben has already attempted 101 passes. We thought Flacco was good at 89. Big Ben's at 101.
And it's because they don't have a guy named Le'Veon Bell to throw down to.
True story. And he's going to be passing a lot in this game to keep up with Tampa Bay. I think it could be a shootout and a very exciting game for Monday night.
I agree. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, and it's going to come down to the one time that whichever defense, whether that's Tampa or Pittsburgh, makes a stop
or gets a turnover.
Right. I think it's going to come down to one play late in the game that's going to be ultimately going to be the game changer, and it's going to come down to that. But ultimately, this is the game that you want to have somebody in because there's going to be points all over the board.
I think so.
Whether it's Tampa Bay's receivers or Pittsburgh's receivers, I'm just telling you right now, this game has got the potential to be a 40-35 type game, easy.
Could, yeah.
And now, obviously, it could be, if it was in Pittsburgh, I would give it maybe like a 28-21 type game. But I'm telling you, being in Tampa, nice weather, Monday night, I'm just telling you, this could be a 42-35 type game.
I'm excited for this game, to be honest.
So I'm excited for it as well. And I mean, I'm not a Pittsburgh fan or a Tampa Bay fan. And I have Juju Smith-Schuster, but I'm just telling you, this game is for fantasy purposes, this is what you like to see. Matchup-wise, are great across the board. You got two quarterbacks that are throwing the crap out of the ball. I'm just telling you, James Conner is going to be fine in this game. He's just, it'll
be mediocre. Yeah, if you have Deshaun Jackson, play him,
please,
because Pittsburgh is the second worst pass defense.
Right, and
Mike Evans, you're going to play.
Mike Evans is going to take the best coverage of whatever they have in that Pittsburgh
Deshaun
defense.
Jackson's just going to be streaking.
Right, he's just going to. I mean, you've seen it 2 games in a row. And it's like the first series, he's down the field for a catch for a touchdown. I mean, just telling you, that's what their offense is all about. It's getting the ball down the field in a hurry.
Yep.
So, man, it's going to be a good week, though. Ultimately, I think this is a good couple games. But I agree with you. The Thursday night game for next week is going to be awesome for that. That's going to be a great Thursday
Rams,
night.
Vikings, I'm excited for that. So we got the Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay Monday, and Rams, Vikings Thursday. That's awesome.
Yeah. So this segment was sponsored by and presented by StatRoute. Dominate your league. Get the stats used by the pros. Any stat, any player, any team, available in under 5 seconds. You can head over to StatRoute.com and you can sign up for their weekly, or I think they get a monthly plan as well. But they do have, I think, like a 7-day free trial still. So I'm just telling you, that's where we get a lot of the stats that we talk about on here, and I talked about specifically in my games. But yeah, so I'm just telling you, good stuff over there, and they're continuing to add stuff every week. They've got all kinds of stuff so you can see primetime games, whether it's Sunday, Thursday, or Monday. They've got that split as well. You can split it to the defensive coordinator, to the offensive coordinator versus teams. The sky's the limit with this, and they're integrating weather reports next.
Wow.
They've got weather like previous games, but they're telling you they can integrate weather reports, like current weather, into the system to tell you what
stats you do during the rain or
right.
What. Yeah, that's awesome.
Immediate. So
you can't beat that.
No. And I mean, I know you can talk about all you want, but history and stats are prevalent. I mean, yeah, guys can buck the system every once in a while, but if I'll just say this, like specifically, like we'll just say Chargers quarterback Phillip Rivers, consistently, we'll just say against defensive coordinator A, he scores 20 fantasy points over the last 6 seasons, and he's played him 7 times. There's a pretty good chance that's what he's going to show.
It's pretty, so in his favor, he's probably going to repeat that.
Right. So that's what we're talking about when we say about consistency when we talk about these guys. So, all right, we want to say thanks again to you guys for listening to the show or tuning in onto the YouTube channel. Please check out the site, thehateful8ff.com, where you can find our weekly in-season articles, as well as we have our online store. You can follow our personal accounts at jpickleth8ff, at jblackburnth8ff, and at ftrim. TH8FF. Don't forget to join the Average Joe Nation. Support the show via our Patreon tab on the site, where you can also get your in-season weekly help. Anything else?
Oh, thanks, guys. We appreciate it.
Yep. Thanks again, and good luck this week
luck.
3. So hopefully you guys do much better than if you're suffering in weeks 1 and 2. Hopefully you're able to climb out of the hole and get yourself back into the right direction this week.
And we'll be on Twitter a couple hours before the game start on Sunday to answer any questions you guys might have. We'll send out a Twitter thing, and
most definitely
we'll be there to answer all your questions for any problems you might have for your lineups.
Yep. Any dilemmas, any questions you got, we'll be there on game day, Sunday morning. So, all right, we'll see you guys next week.
One more time. There ain't no one like these three. You know you just heard Pickle, Blackburn, and Trimboli. Give the goods talking about nothing but fantasy football. Yeah, it's your year to dominate and to wear that ring. Prepare for the draft and dial in on your craft. Quarterback, the first round is a good choice, you ask? This guy's got first round pick, a favorite? Not so fast. He failed to tune into Hateful Eight. He's